Welcome. It's our 4th annual statewide virtual family caregiver conference. And we are just so thrilled that you have decided to spend your day with us to celebrate you. My name's Aita Stevens. I am blessed as a family caregiver myself. I'm also executive director for Sooner Success, and I'm delighted to welcome you this morning. We have an awesome conference planned, and this year's theme is embracing hope. Hope is just so important. As a family caregiver, you know that. Our committee recognized that and wanted to just really resonate and think on embracing hope. The speaker panelists and presenters that we have selected and invited to share are all around this year's theme, embracing hope. With that said, we're going to jump right into some housekeeping items. And you probably already know this is a webinar platform. And actually, you do not have video or audio. We're going to address any questions that you might have using the Q&A for presenters. We will also be monitoring housekeeping questions through the chat. So again, we've been utilizing the Zoom platform for quite some time. Perhaps you are familiar with accessing those features. So just real quickly, again, the Oklahoma Caregivers Coalition has been working hard on this. You may have also noticed that it is being recorded. We recognize that family caregivers are busy, and we want to allow them an opportunity to join when it's convenient for them. We also are going to have a fun-filled day with not only awesome speakers, but we're going to be giving away gift cards. These are Walmart gift cards, and perhaps if you've attended in the past, maybe perhaps you've been a lucky winner. And we've actually intentionally have offered many opportunities throughout this morning and afternoon. And we just want to recognize you for your participation. And we know with the holidays coming up, perhaps you could utilize a Walmart gift card. And also you'll see following the conference an email with an important evaluation. As many of you know who are familiar, we could not do this without the support of many partners. The evaluation helps the committee and those partners make changes, make plans for next year. Okay, so do look for that. And again, for your participation and feedback on the evaluation, we will also have an opportunity for you to win another gift card. All right. Okay, so I want to just again recognize our Oklahoma Caregiver Coalition. They've been planning this for quite some time, and we just want to recognize their hard work. Many of them are family caregivers and really know our family caregivers are truly the backbone to our informal healthcare system. Caregiving takes many forms. Many of us have family members, friends with various special healthcare needs, and it's so important for us to take care of our self-care, take care of our needs as well. And again, the committee has worked hard on having a conference that celebrates you, family caregivers. As challenging as it is to find that balance, it is just so important for you all, including myself as a family caregiver, for us to find that balance of having self-care and really to appreciate you. Today, we have planned a conference that is going to hopefully help you feel recharged, help you feel appreciated. And the conference sessions and speakers that have been selected is really all about with your health and wellness in mind. Again, I want to just say a special thank you to our planning committee that made this event possible. And the planning committee includes Oklahoma Human Services, our program Sooner Success, AARP, Oklahoma Family Health, Sunbeam Family Services, Morton Comprehensive Health Services, and the OSU Extension. Also, a big thank you to our gold, silver, and bronze sponsors. We could not do this without these dedicated partners. As many of you may know, November is National Caregiver Month. So thank you, committee. Thank you, sponsors, for helping us with today's conference. I also want to say a special thank you to Jammin' Jeff Entertainment. We're so glad to have the gift of music to start us off throughout the conference. And that is what today is all about. It's taking that pause and focus on you, family caregivers, and embracing hope. So just to briefly go through a rundown of today. As I mentioned, we have great presenters this morning and afternoon. You'll see the conference agenda in the program. You should have received an email as well as it was on our okcares.org website, and we'll also put the link in chat so you can see again the program lineup. As I already mentioned, throughout the day, we're going to have the evaluation and gift cards. So gift card opportunities throughout the day and as you take time to share your feedback. Okay, and DJ Jeff will be announcing those winners. We're also going to put the winners in chat. Real important, it is required that you're present to win. So again, as DJ Jeff makes that announcement, we are going to put those winner names in chat. So please be looking for that when that opportunity arises, and do acknowledge that you are the winner and that you're present. If in the event we do have a selection and the attendee is not present, we will be selecting another winner for the gift cards. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to hear from Jeremy Buchanan. He is the Director of Community Living, Aging, and Protective Services at the Oklahoma Human Services. Jeremy Buchanan has served Oklahomans at the Department of Human Services for over 8 years. Prior to joining OKDHS, Jeremy graduated with a bachelor's degree from the University of Oklahoma in 2009 with the help of the Workforce Reinvestment Act. It's a government program that supports education and training of displaced workers. After graduating, he began his public service working in the same program, the Workforce Reinvestment Act program. That helped him return to college. He is living, breathing proof that the government programs that serve Oklahomans have the power to change the course of a person's life. In October of 2013, he joined DHS as a business process engineer and earned a master's degree in organizational leadership from the University of Oklahoma in May 2020. Jeremy was named Director of Community Living, Aging, and Protective Services in June of 2020. Jeremy's time at OKDHS has been spent focused on bringing value and transparency to the Oklahomans served by Human Services program. Jeremy is also a husband and a father of 8 children. Yes, you heard that, 8 children. Jeremy and his wife adopted 2 of their children, one of them a child with special needs. Jeremy understands the challenges families face balancing work, caregiving, and self-care. It is an honor and a privilege to lead the programs in community living, aging, and protective services that support and strengthen families facing similar challenges. So with that, let's hear from Jeremy Buchanan.
Hello, I want to welcome all of our family caregivers and our network of partner providers who help us provide this valuable service in our communities. I also want to thank the folks who have helped us put on this family caregiving conference. This is an opportunity for all of us to get together and talk about something that is really impacting all of us. I know that this is a virtual conference. That gives a lot of people the opportunity to attend that otherwise wouldn't be able to attend. So I just want to thank you all for coming and for being here. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsors. We will be giving away gift cards throughout the day. And I know this is something that we're happy to do, and hopefully it'll keep you engaged. and very excited to kick this off. I want to share a quote by Rosalind Carter. Rosalind said there are only 4 types of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. I really love this quote because it highlights the fact that all of us will be caregivers at some point in our life. This is going to impact us. AARP's Public Policy Institute released these statistics in 2013. 524,000 Oklahomans are caregivers. They provided 488 million hours of respite care. That equates to about $6 billion of economic impact. So this is really a large problem, and that data is from 8 years ago. So we know those numbers are much greater today. Family caregiving is really the backbone of our healthcare system. I myself am the father of a special needs child, so this is an issue that has affected my family personally. I know many caregivers are very busy. They're trying to navigate working a job, maintaining a relationship, giving the care that their loved ones need. And this conference is really designed to provide a pathway and a break for people who just need to understand what resources are out there and ways that we can help. So this is also an opportunity for you to connect to other people who are in a similar circumstance. You are not alone. So my hope is that this conference will provide a pathway to help you connect, to understand what other resources are out there, and also just to understand you are not alone. I know that social isolation was a problem before the pandemic, and it's something that the COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated in our communities. It's so important to take care of yourself first so that you can provide the care your loved ones need. So take the time to get the respite you need. You know, if it's taking a break to go for a walk, or just stepping outside, or really tapping into the resources that are available, using these respite programs to be able to go on a vacation. Everybody needs a break, and we recognize that. And we're trying to balance the care for our loved ones with our own needs. And I know sometimes that can be really tough, but that's what we're here for, and that's what we hope this conference today will help you connect with others who are facing the same challenges. Home and community-based services are essential to keeping your loved one out of premature institutionalized care. If you'd like to learn more about what resources are available, call the Aging and Disabilities Helpline. The goal of this conference is for all of us to embrace hope. Hope is the idea that tomorrow can be better than today, and that we have the power to make it so. Dr. Angela Ferris is going to come and talk to you all about the science of hope and how we are really trying to embrace this concept of being a hope-centered agency at the Department of Human Services. We want to provide that hope to you, to provide pathways to help you meet the need of your families. You're also going to get to hear from Ashley Robinson, Miss Oklahoma in 2021, who herself is a family caregiver, and she's going to talk to you about her experiences. After Ashley, you're going to hear from Dr. Linda Jordan. She's the author of The Voice of Hope. She's going to give you all tips and tricks on how to live a life of purpose as a family caregiver. You're going to hear from several family caregivers today, and I know that you're going to relate to their experience as they tell the story about how they've navigated the issues of family caregiving and really trying to balance their personal needs with the needs of their loved one. OKDHS is honored to be a gold sponsor for this event today, and I personally want to applaud you for the work you do. Caregiving is probably the most demanding, yet rewarding and important work that we'll ever do. If I or my team can be of any assistance, please contact us at our Community Living, Aging, and Protective Services line, which is 405-521-2281. In closing, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the 2021 Oklahoma Virtual Family Caregiving Conference. I hope you'll take your time here to learn about all the resources that are available to you and your family to support you in your role as a caregiver. Please take time often to recharge and refresh. You are valued, and I thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeremy. We appreciate your kind words and your motivating words. You touched on so much that is important, and really to emphasize Jeremy Buchanan's words of encouragement, family caregivers, we are here to assist you as well. Not only is today's conference to support you, but following the conference, we would love to connect with you. All right, who's ready for that first gift card drawing? We're ready. Jeff, Jam and Jeff, are you available here? You ready to get our first drawing going?
All right, here we go. Live from the Synergy Studios in Branson, Missouri. Our first door prize winner today is Jackie Leaker. Jackie, you are the winner.
Great, thank you so much. All right. Congratulations to our winner, and please be looking for your name in chat and let us know that you acknowledge that you're here, and we'll coordinate getting that gift card to you. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our next presenter, Dr. Angela Ferris. She's the Assistant Professor and Coordinator of the Center for Child Welfare, Simulation and Training. Angela's current research is in child welfare and human service organizations and the application of hope-centered and trauma-informed framework. Hope is a psychological strength and a buffer to stress, adversity, and burnout, and a hopeful mindset that improves organizational and individual outcomes. She's interested in the impact of intervention services, which improve program outcomes and client and family well-being. Angela is working with the research team to explore how we can adapt hope theory as a framework to improve assessment, planning, and interventions aimed at supporting youth during the transition to adulthood. Also, Angela does research using training and simulation to advance knowledge and skills in child welfare practice. Dr. Ferris joined the University of Oklahoma in 2017. She's an assistant professor in the Anne and Henry Zarrow School of Social Work, coordinator of the Center for Child Welfare Simulation and Training, and a senior research fellow at the Hope Research Center. Thank you, Dr. Ferris. We'll turn things over to you, and thank you for being here.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Just a quick check. You can hear me? Okay, good. Okay, wonderful. What a joy, what a privilege it is for me to be able to join your conference this morning virtually from beautiful Norman, Oklahoma. Thank you for the lovely introduction. I am here this morning because I want to tell you the things that we've been learning about this word, this beautiful word we call hope. It's important maybe for you to understand that I'm a social worker by my training, a researcher next. At home, I'm a mother to one teenager who is a senior in high school, and I too am a family caregiver. We have a family member who lives full-time in our home, and we together work to meet his needs. Now, one of the things I want to tell you before we start talking about hope is I think it's important to have just a little bit of background as to why we think hope is so important. And that's because we spend so much time, not only in kind of the ways that we try to help one another, but I think as a whole, we spend a lot of time thinking about, well, what's wrong? What's happening? Why is my loved one sick? What are the symptoms? What's the problem that's in front of us? And what we try to do, and it makes so much sense, but what we try to do is we come in and think, well, if something's wrong, my job is then to eliminate what's wrong with you, to eliminate this problem, and that then we'll be well. The challenge with that kind of thinking is, although if somebody in your family or your household or you yourself is feeling depressed, eliminating the feelings of depression doesn't necessarily mean you have joy and peace and happiness. It just probably means we have less symptoms of depression. Or if you think about children in school, if we have a child who's having a hard time and he's misbehaving, say sitting in his third grade class today and he can't sit still and listen, getting the child to sit still and listen, reducing what's wrong with him, might be a really important first step, but it doesn't actually give assurances that he's learning, that he's growing, that he has the things he needs. And so we've spent so many years as helpers and humans and service providers thinking about, well, what's wrong with you and how do we reduce it? That we haven't really always stopped to think about and reflect on, well, what's just happening to you? And not only what's happening to you, but how do we help you thrive in the midst of the things that are happening with you? And so as a researcher, our research team, we've become really interested in understanding what are the mechanisms that help people not just survive the hardships of their lives, but what are the actual things that help us to thrive and have well-being in the midst of adversity. And so that's where the science of hope begins. The challenge that we have, that we truly face in front of us, is that for many of us, probably even for most of us, the stress and adversity of our life is real. These are real problems that have to be solved. These are real challenges that we have to face and overcome. And for many of us, it goes well beyond just what we're facing today, but really a look backwards through our life to think about what are some really hardships or adversity that you may have had to overcome throughout your lifespan in order to be where you are today. We really call these things in research, these adverse childhood experiences, these kinds of things that happen to us throughout our life that contribute to an overall sense of adversity and stress, this survival mindset that we have to constantly overcome. Very quickly within the ACEs, they believe that there's these 10 broad categories of adversity that we face. But what I really want to point out to you today is that this is just the beginning of how do we understand stress and adversity. And that there are many things not listed here that in fact cause incredible hardship for families. But here's the piece I want to show you. Out of these 10 things on this last slide, types of abuse that we've experienced, types of neglect that children or families may experience, and other types of household dysfunction that just generally occur that add to and contribute to cumulative ongoing stress, that these are really very prevalent within our communities. So here's the first thing I want to tell you is if you've grown up and you now find yourself as an adult and you're faced with a lifetime where you've had significant stress or adversity, particularly in your childhood, you're not alone. And that's a really important thing to understand. As a matter of fact, the Centers for Disease Control say that the average American in their study has at least 1.5 to 2 of those 10 adversities that they experienced even before the age of 18. The problem or the challenge that I want to tell you is that when you have several of those kinds of adversity, it really contributes and leads to these negative health outcomes. There's actually really direct and clear research that shows as our exposure to cumulative stress, particularly early in life, grows, the likelihood that we have health outcomes in adulthood that are negative are really pretty high. So while I don't want to make assumptions about your family or your household, what the data does suggest is that for many of us, we find ourselves in family caregiver roles simply because of the adversities of our lives have led to these kinds of stressful health outcomes that you see here. For example, people who before the age of 18 experienced 4 or more of those adversities, they're so much more likely to become a smoker, which then leads to health and disease and lung problems. They're so much more likely to use or misuse substances and alcohol, which again leads to these kinds of chronic health outcomes that we see. So ACEs are this cornerstone of the research we've been doing in the Hope Research Center, because we want to, again, think about what are the things, what are the mechanisms that we use so that we don't become a constantly staying stuck in this adversity, but that we have the ability to move forward, that we have the ability to say, yes, I have faced trials and adversity and am currently even in the midst of deep stress, but what is the thing that helps me move forward? And here's what we've learned: hope. And the hopeful mindset is the single best predictor of our well-being. It is that important to us as humans that we think about this word and this thing we call hope. So let me ask you, I want you to kind of think out loud to yourself. When you hear the word hope, do you think of a feeling that you have? Or do you think of hope as a mindset, a way of thinking about the world? What do you think? Is hope a feeling or a mindset? All right, so for many people, when I ask this question, because I give this speech and talk all around the United States, most people will answer and tell me that they think it's kind of both, that at times you feel hopeful, and then at other times you actually are thinking hopeful thoughts. Well, in our research, what we've discovered is that it is in fact a mindset. It's a way of thinking about the future. Now, this is going to be really important because here's the thing. If hope is just an emotion and it's a feeling, then all I can do is teach you how to manage your feelings of hope. And that is not quite as powerful as teaching you how to use and think about your future and hope. So hope is a mindset. Now, the reason it has a feelings component is because it feels good when we start to reach our goals. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. So what is hope? Hope is a belief, the mindset that your future will be better than today and that you have the power to make it so. Hope is a goal-directed, action-oriented way of being. Now, if we just took the first part of this definition and we said hope is a belief that the future will be better than today, a belief that the future will be better is optimism. Optimism is really, really good for us, but hope really extends the view of optimism into this action-oriented, infused, directed way of thinking about our lives. Hope is made up of three pretty simple concepts. In order to have hope and a hopeful thinking and a hopeful mindset, first, we have to be able to identify, set, and pursue our goals. Recognize what our goals are, what your goals are as a family or an individual. The second component of hope is I have to have and be able to select pathways to get to those goals. Viable strategies, viable routes that'll help me get to my goal and achieve my task in front of me. Another really important thing about hope and that higher hope people, hopeful people, is that they can find ways to solve problems. So when there's a barrier that comes up in the pathway as we pursue our goals, that hopeful people are more likely and more able to find the strategy to get around that barrier and continue pursuing the goal. And then the third component of hope is our willpower, that we have a desired goal, we can identify pathways to pursue the goal, and that we have the energy and the motivation to stay pursuing those goals together. When all three of these are present, what we see and have is a hopeful mindset. The challenge that we've learned and what we've really been studying then is, well, what happens when adversity or trauma or stress get introduced into the hopeful mindset? And there's some very clear distinctions that I want to share with you. First of all, adversity influences the nature of our goals. When we are experiencing stress, when we are experiencing hardship, it is actually really difficult to think long-term into the future. We tend to need and naturally start to select short-term kinds of goals for ourselves. How do we just get through today? What are the goals that we need to set to get through this week or this month? The other thing is that when we're under stress, that we tend to set avoidant goals rather than achievement-oriented goals. So what that looks like is when you're facing stress, you tend to do things like, how do we just take care of our most basic needs today? Or how do we set a goal of just not getting sicker or not getting worse or not having more consequences? Those are avoidant kinds of goals. Versus an achievement mindset or an achievement goal that says, how do we really flourish or thrive as a family? Those might be the kinds of goals we set. Stress keeps us setting those kinds of short-term and avoidant goals. The challenge with that, and as you know, as caregivers, and really that we've collectively experienced this last year in the midst of this pandemic, is when we have to stay in this short-term avoidant mindset, it's exhausting. It's hard. It really is a survival mindset, and survival is supposed to be a short-term state that we're in, not a long-term or enduring status. And so our hope starts to deplete as we sustain into this survival place. So it's pretty important that we think about how do we move beyond those short-term goals. The other thing we know is that hope impacts our pathways. Excuse me, the kinds of strategies that we have available to us. As we increase in our stress and the hardships of our life increase over time, our ability to problem solve goes down really quickly. We also struggle in the midst of stress and adversity to find multiple pathways to goals. So the problem solving, finding a plan A or a plan B become really difficult for people who are facing adversity. And then finally, as you know, because we've all experienced, when we are in the midst of stress and in the midst of adversity, our willpower gets depleted pretty quickly. So we may wake up in the morning ready and eager to pursue the goals that we have in front of us, but as the stress accumulates and the burdens come in, the pathways become challenging, the ability to just continue to pursue the goal starts to deplete over the course of our day. We have to always recognize our humanness, right? And how easy it is to get worn out. That's why respite care and programs and support services can be so vital to nurturing your well-being. It is not an infinite resource. That's the simplicity of hope, the belief that the future will be better than today, and I have the power to make it so. But in order for us to be hopeful, we have to actually have all three of these things present. As a matter of fact, if we have a valued goal, but we don't actually have any pathways to get there, actually all we have in front of us is a wish. And I want to be really clear that our research is not talking about wishful thinking. Our research really shows that when we can set and pursue goals, identify pathways, and maintain the mental energy that we need to pursue the goals, hope rises. And as hope rises, it's the single best predictor of our well-being. So another way to think about hope is to think about, well, what is the opposite of that? If you're not quite so sure that hope becomes so important in our lives and having a hopeful mindset, let's talk about what we see as the loss of hope. And it's really clear in the research that as we start to lose hope, it's a stepping down process. It begins with things like anger or anger's favorite next door neighbor, anxiety and fear and frustration. All of those emotions. What's happening when we start to get frustrated is the goals that we want are getting significantly blocked. Think about in your journey as a family and a family caregiver, the times that you've been the most frustrated or the most angry or the most exhausted mentally from this journey. It's very likely that it's because a desired goal you have is getting significantly blocked. So when we're experiencing those feelings, it's time to start thinking about, how do I set a new goal? What do I do to re-goal? But if this continues over time, what we're going to start to see is despair, right? It becomes, the pathway to our goal becomes so blocked, the pathways are so unavailable that it just feels like this pit is in front of us that we maybe can't get out of. And eventually, as we get to this point, we start to give up on those goals and apathy sets in. And so the loss of hope is a stepping process. And so when I show you this, what I hope you can see is the flip is how important it is that we have a hopeful mindset about our future. Now, here's the beautiful thing again, because hope is a mindset, it's a cognitive process, it's something that you were taught. And if it's something that you were taught, it's something you can remind yourself that you can use every day. You can teach it to your children. You can build the capacity to be hopeful in adults. And that's what we've been doing at the Department of Human Services, is helping the workers and the staff and the teams there think about how they can nurture your hope in your role as a family caregiver. And we're really excited that this is the theme of the conference this year. So what do? Hope is really important. The belief that the future will be better and I have the power to make it so. I want to give you a couple of tips before I leave you today. First of all, make hope front and center. Sit down as a family and talk about what are your important goals and what are the strategies that you need to do to pursue them. I want you to think about how and why. What's the willpower? What's the motivation? What's the why that you're doing it? We're doing it for very specific reasons, that we love our family member and we want him to be part of our family for as long as possible. And when I can tap into that experience and those goals, then it helps sustain us when the stress and adversity comes our way. And it inevitably does in the caregiving journey. Work together as a team to problem solve. Look and figure out and reflect and celebrate when you overcome those obstacles together. Think about all the obstacles you've already overcome and use that as a motivation to think about your future. Create a visual of hope. It is so important that we have these things in front of us. I myself have the word hope all over my home, but I also, that's why I love family photos. I love images that remind me about what my future can be and that we can get there from here. And then finally, and this is so important, things change all the time. Remember that you have the capacity to re-goal and set new ones. If what's in front of you feels too overwhelming, take a few steps back and think about what's a different goal that I could set that we could get to in the short term in order to help you pursue and achieve this well-being that we know. Again, hope is the single best predictor of well-being. The research is actually very clear and conclusive on this. And so the strategy I want to leave you today is think about your goals, your pathways, and the willpower you have to pursue the future. And it will increase the hope that you have for your own future. I am so honored to be with you today. I only had a few minutes, but I wish you all the best as you continue your day together. And may you continue to do so with hope. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Ferris. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and your inspirational words, and appreciate all that you're doing to support family caregivers as well, and your research. All right, who's ready for another drawing? Jam and Jeff?
Here we are once again coming from the Synergy Studios live from Branson, Missouri. We want to bring on our next winner, and we want to say congratulations to Amanda Chapin. You are our next winner.
Great, thank you so much. All right, I am just truly honored to introduce our next special presenter. She's been traveling all over the state and is going to also bring us such an important message. Ashley Robinson, Miss Oklahoma 2021, is a 7th grade English language arts teacher at FD Moon Middle School in Oklahoma City Public Schools. Introduced to the school through volunteering with the Freedom City Mentoring and Reading Buddy program, Ashley fell in love with the students and pouring into their lives. After a year of volunteering once a week, she accepted a teaching position there. The pandemic kept her classroom virtual until February 2021. She was named OKCPS District Rookie Teacher of the Month in March of 21. Her social impact initiative and life passions are on a platform of inclusion. Ashley and her siblings are biracial. Her youngest sister, Danielle, has Down syndrome. Danielle is a vibrant young woman with dreams and capabilities of her own. Ashley advocates for a culture shift in our communities to include those with intellectual and developmental disabilities in opportunities for education, employment, and social engagement. She hopes to create better communities through advocating for inclusion in every corner of Oklahoma. Thank you for being here today, Ashley, and we look forward to hearing your presentation, Optimism Through Obstacles.
Good morning. Thank you so much for that fabulous introduction. I'm always super appreciative for the great interest that I get when I go places, because I think I'm just a normal person. So it's fun to hear about the awesome things that are going on in Oklahoma, and I'm happy to be of service today as a fellow caregiver to you all. I'm here to give my presentation called Optimism Through Obstacles that kind of gives a roadmap of mine and my family's life in caregiving for my sister Danielle. So as she said, my name is Ashley Robinson and I am the current Miss Oklahoma. We'll get into that more later, but I'm super excited to be here with you today. Let's see. A little bit about me. I was born in Oklahoma City and was raised in Edmond, Oklahoma. My family is an adoptive family of 6, with my dad being a colonel in the Army. We're super proud of him and his career. My mom is a trained engineer, and so I've got some super great parents that are leading the head of our family. I have 3 siblings, and you'll meet them in a second. After graduating from Edmond, I moved to Oklahoma City to go to Oklahoma City University and studied music there. I got to hone my craft as a singer that I'll get to use on the Miss America stage in December. I love baking and jazz music and going to church. And after graduating from OCU, I had been volunteering at a school on the east side of Oklahoma City. And when the pandemic hit, chose to become a teacher there because so many of the students that I was volunteering with talked about that they didn't have hope in their own lives. And I had hope for their lives. So I thought I could go and be a great source of hope for them in their everyday lives. After being a teacher there for a little while, I was crowned Miss Oklahoma this summer in June, and I'm super excited to be representing our state at Miss America. These are just some pictures of some fun things that I've gotten to do over the years and some really important moments in my life. That was my graduation there on the left. I did study music at OCU and graduated in 2019. That top photo is me performing talent at Miss Oklahoma. And the far right photo is me getting crowned Miss Oklahoma City. It was a huge honor of mine to be crowned Miss Oklahoma City because I am really proud of my community and the people in it. Having lived here and served for the past like 60 years, I was really proud to become a representative for the city and now for our state. I always throw in that bottom picture because I just think it's funny and it kind of humanizes me. That was a performance of the national anthem that I got the words wrong at, and it always makes people laugh. So I like to throw that in there to remind you that I'm human and that I make mistakes. These are some fun photos of my family, and they're kind of dated now. I think I probably should add some more updated ones, but these are both from 2017, 2018. The picture on the left is at the March of Dimes Awards that Danielle got to go and receive an award at. And the photo on the right was on the Make-A-Wish trip that we took as a family. In our photos, you can tell that our family is biracial. My dad is Black, my mom is white. All 4 of the kids in our family are of that racial makeup as well. And we are super proud to have each other, and we're a super diverse family in more ways than one. I'm a singer. Danielle loves to sing and dance too, but my sister Courtney in the black dress there is in aerospace and aviation. And my brother Anthony is a coach and works with kids and that sort of thing. So we're a really diverse family and we really love being around each other. Danielle, as you can see in these photos, is using a wheelchair, and we'll get more into why then later, but she also has Down syndrome. And this was something kind of from an early age that I recognized was going to set her apart from the rest of the siblings in our family, that kind of early on, people did not have high expectations for her, but our parents set really high expectations for all of the kids in our family. And I think that's one of the reasons why Danielle has been so successful at becoming high functioning now as a 21-year-old. When Danielle and I were growing up, I recognized that, like I said, the trajectory of our lives was going to be a lot different from each other's. Though we were born into the same everything, the same circumstances financially, school-wise, we had the exact same resources. Because of the situations that she was going to be put in because of her diagnosis, her life was going to be completely different than mine. And it really ignited the passion in me to try and create better life for her and for her peers. I recognized that there was no reason that she should be treated any different. And that started really early. She was in kindergarten and they were trying to get her to go to the special education kindergarten class. And my mom said, absolutely not, because Danielle's already working on her alphabet and reading. And they weren't doing that in the special education program. And so passed on from my mom, kind of, I took that passion and started trying to figure out how I could best serve Danielle. These are fun photos over the course of our sisterhood, I suppose. We've gotten to do so many fun things together. And that is one of the driving purposes of my time as Miss Oklahoma, is trying to advocate for her and create better spaces for her and her peers to be in. And I know many of you today have people that you're caring for that you feel just as passionate about as well. And I share that with you, and I share the passion you have to make better lives for them. And at the end of the day, when we make better lives for them, we make better lives for everyone around us. People often say, oh, you focus too much on just your sister. And, your sister is at at the core of all of your stories. And why shouldn't she be? That's always what I say. Why shouldn't she be? If I make space for Danielle, then there's space for someone else. There's space for her friend Emily. There's space for lots of other people who will come after her, that will have more respect and be more included in all of their areas of their life, if I make this space for Danielle. So I started volunteering with different organizations outside of just spending time with Danielle, because it is important to spend time with the people we care about. But I recognized there were other people just like her. And some of the organizations that I got to work with as I was growing up, from probably about the age I was 12 until I graduated college, and now I'm an adult, have been places like Best Buddies and I Can Bike. The photo with the girl in the high chair is at the Children's Center Rehab Hospital. A couple of the other photos are with friends from the Down Syndrome Association of Central Oklahoma. And all of these organizations were places that I was able to find respite for myself as a caregiver, because I wasn't so focused on Danielle all the time, because while I love her, she can be very challenging personally. But it's super fun to be around her most of the time. But like I said, it was great to get respite by exposing myself to other people and reminding myself that it is about our community, and it's about more than just Danielle. So I've loved getting to meet and be in community with lots of different people. This is when it gets kind of sad. Danielle was in her junior year of high school, and we thought that we had figured it all out. She was on the pathway to be an independent young adult. We were figuring out a way for her to get to go to college, and she was so energized in her goals. And then in February of 2017, she was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and she was really sick for a long time. Multiple times we thought that she was going to die because they just couldn't keep her stable in the hospital. And this was a hard time for me, honestly. I mean, that sounds kind of simplistic, because of course it's hard if your sister gets diagnosed with cancer and almost dies. But I was in my sophomore year of college, which I was having a really hard time balancing trying to get to the hospital to be there with her and to give my mom a break from spending all day, all the time with Danielle. And I'm just trying to balance my classes, trying to balance my friendships in school, and my sorority and all of the things that college kids do. And I would leave class and go straight to the hospital to sit with Danielle at her ICU bed for the 40 minutes I had in between class, to try and make sure that she knew that I still remembered her, even though she wasn't at home with us, and even though she wasn't able to go to family dinner with us anymore. There wasn't a moment I wasn't thinking about her. And it was really important to me that my mom had the opportunity to get respite as well, because my dad had gone back to work after a while. I don't know if you could see on the screen, she did spend 8 months in the hospital. And after a while, my dad had to go back to work instead of just hanging out with my mom and my sister at the hospital. So I recognized how big of a toll this was playing on my mom. And I knew it was important to be open and communicative with her about the stresses that I was having, so that she felt more comfortable telling me about the stresses she was having. And we were able to share those things with each other and meet each other in our gaps. Both of my other siblings were at college further away, and so it was harder for them to come and be a sort of respite for my mom in that situation. But together as a family, we all banded and really tried to be there for each other, because it was really hard some days. I would get back into my car at midnight after I was supposed to leave the hospital and just sit there and not want to go back to my dorm, because I knew that people just didn't understand, that it was already hard having a sibling with Down syndrome, because people didn't understand what it was like to have that in your life. But then on top of it, dealing with chemo care and dealing with, going back and forth from the hospital and always wondering if when you get back, if she's going to be better or worse or anything along those lines. But thank goodness Danielle made a full recovery and was able to turn all of the experiences she had as someone going through chemo and someone dealing with cancer into a message of optimism and hope that she has been able to share across the state with lots of different people. She was pronounced cancer-free in May of 2019, and we have had such a fun time going around and speaking together and sharing our stories, hers about what it's like to go through cancer and deal with the diagnosis of cancer, but also Down syndrome. She lost a lot of mobility in her legs, and she was using a wheelchair for a while, and then transitioned to a walker and transitioned to a cane. And now she's walking freely without the assistance of anybody but herself. And that was a long, I mean, everything is a long journey. Having Down syndrome as a life diagnosis is a journey in itself, but dealing with the struggles on top of it of a separate diagnosis of cancer, it can be really challenging. But the things that we found in our family that have helped us the most, like I said, have been communicating with each other about the needs that we have and the struggles we're going through, and connecting with other families. My mom had a really great opportunity to join a mother's group of long-term diagnosis children, whether it be cancer or other types of diagnosis that would maybe make their lifespan shorter or threaten their life or something along those lines. And we've really found beauty in our community and found beauty in vulnerability, because at the end of the day, the only way we can make it through any of the struggles that the diagnosis or even the situations that we're in is by communicating that and sharing the times that we are hopeful with each other and sharing the times that we aren't hopeful with each other. Showing that there are days that are going to be really hard. There are the days that you think she's not going to make it, or even that you're just tired of hearing her scream, or tired of hearing her say she doesn't want to work hard because you know she has to work a little bit harder than everybody else to be independent. But at the end of the day, it's so worth it because, you know, we're able to share her with the world, and she has a job. She works 5 days a week. She's on track to go to school if she wants to do that. And we are on track as a family to continue to support her. And we're stronger than ever because of it. And I'm super thankful for the experiences that Danielle has given to our family and the experiences I get to share with other Oklahomans like you guys. That are caregivers and are trying to figure out the best ways to be yourselves while dealing with caring for another person. I know that the way that I've chosen to cope with it is by sharing my experiences as Miss Oklahoma and going around the state trying to advocate for people like Danielle. But that may look different for you. And I really support you and encourage you to find what makes you happy and find what helps bring life back into your life and your eyes. That way, your Danielle can continue to feel supported and can go out into the world and feel their best as well. I am so thankful to have been here with you today. I wanted to provide an opportunity for you guys to ask questions, and I'm sad that I didn't have more time to share with you guys outside of that, but this is your opportunity to ask questions about Danielle, about my family, or about any of our experiences.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashley. It was such a pleasure for you to be here today. And I, as a family caregiver, I know I shared with you, I am just so thankful you're out there increasing awareness of inclusion of all, and love that you've shared your story, and wish you all the best in your future endeavors. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, great. I am just so happy we continue to have an awesome conference, and right now it looks like we have another drawing.
Oh, would you like for me to answer questions?
Well, Ashley, let me check here.
Okay.
We've been monitoring Q&A. I apologize. I know we discussed this. Let me look here. So at this time, right now, attendees have not posted any questions in Q&A. I see awesome job in chat, and as well as your musical performances. I don't see any questions at this time, Ashley, but okay. I do want to encourage attendees, and I apologize, I should have announced this again. Our presenters are willing to answer questions. We do ask that you use the Q&A feature. They actually have access to that. And as well as Ashley is available to work with you on potential future presentations. She does have her information on how to contact her. And as a follow-up as well, I would encourage you to continue to follow her, and as she's supporting Oklahoma in December, and again supporting for inclusion. So, but Ashley, I don't see any questions. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to add, but I'm checking with everyone, and I think, well, I have a question. Sorry, we've got like multiple committee members trying to help us.
That's
And
right.
the question is, how have you remained so positive?
I think honestly, seeing the joy that Danielle has is one of the things that has kept me positive. We'll have moments that our whole entire family, we're pretty chaotic sometimes, that we'll just be yelling at each other because of something. And she has a wonderful way of reminding us how important it is to be thankful for each other. One day, that really sticks out in my mind was when we got to go on her Make-A-Wish trip to Disney, and she was still getting chemo drugs in the hotel room, and we were still dealing with a lot of the things that were challenging to us that we hadn't had to experience. Like we never had mobility issues with her because she was always, she wasn't using a wheelchair before she was sick, and so we were trying to navigate places, and it was getting really frustrating. And my, dad is yelling at my brother, and everyone's like frustrated because it had been a long day at Disney. And Danielle screamed, "Stop, everybody," and said, "I'm just glad we're all here," because it was the first time we had been together as a family in a long time. So it's moments like that that I'm able to take with me into the days that are hard, and think about the fact that I'm just glad that she's here, and I'm just glad that I have her. And that even if there does become a day that I don't have her, there are going to be people just like her that I'll have as well. So yeah, it's moments like that, or the day that her first Christmas home from the hospital, she said, "My favorite Christmas gift is having you all as family members." And we all kind of looked at her, we're all teary-eyed. And then she turned to my brother and said, "But sometimes you remind me of dog poop." And so it's the sweet moments that you're able to say, "Gosh, you are so right. I'm so glad to have you." And then the reminder that she still has a personality, and she still has kind of her quirks, even when going through all of those things.
Love it. Thank you so much. So much that we take for granted. And it looks like we do have 2 questions, and then we will wrap up. It says, what type of things do you do to help release stress?
I recently took up kickboxing, which sounds kind of scary. It was scary to me at first when I started it, but I realized that when Danielle was sick, I was really leaning into stress eating and really leaning into I don't know, sitting around and being sad, which, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to sit around and let yourself be sad. But once I got out of college, I realized that I hadn't ever picked back up to try and be active and that sort of thing. So finding ways to remain just active in my community, but also active physically to try and make sure that I am my best. Because if I'm not my best, I can't be there for her.
Love that. I know you already answered one question. You said Miss America pageant is in December. Okay, so I'm going to move on to this next question. When your sister was struggling with motivation, how did you get her past it?
That's a good question. I think it's a different answer for me that might not actually be helpful to some of you. So I'll share it anyway and try and provide some context. One of the things we had a really hard time with Danielle was her learning how to walk again, because she didn't want to go through the pain of trying to build those muscles back up. She just wanted us to keep pushing her in a wheelchair. But we knew that she was capable of more than that. And there wasn't anything wrong with her using a wheelchair, but we just knew that she was capable of going back to the life she had before and walking and dancing and that sort of thing. And so continuing to remind her that, it may be easy, but it may be easy to stay comfortable. But just like other people in her life that she loves, there have been times that we've had to be uncomfortable, and there have been times that it really pays off to be able to do things. And honestly, just tricking her, we tricked her into doing, what was it? A 1 mile fun walk that she didn't know she was doing. And at the end of it, we said, oh my gosh, you did this entire fun walk and you didn't think you could do it. You kept telling us you weren't going to be able to do it, but you walked over a mile, and she was able to take that later in life, later down the road, and say, you know what, I did that. I can probably do these other things too. And reminding her that just because she has a bad day doesn't mean she's a bad person, doesn't mean she's a bad student, doesn't mean she's a bad sister. That everybody has bad days, no matter their diagnosis.
Love it. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you sharing your story, and wish you all the best again in your future endeavors. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. As we continue on, we do have time to have another drawing. Jam and Jeff, are you ready for our next winner?
I am coming to you again from Synergy Home Care. We want to welcome and thank Alicia Perry. You are our next winner. Congratulations, Alicia.
Great. Congratulations. Yes, please let us know you're still with us, and we'll coordinate getting that gift card to you. All right, I'm so happy to introduce our next presenter. I've had the privilege to work with her for several years now. Her tireless commitment to serve family caregivers is unwavering. Nadine Walter attended Kansas State University, where she earned dual degrees in human ecology and gerontology. Nadine began her career in the field of aging in 1990 at ASCOG, Area Agency on Aging in Duncan, Oklahoma. In 1996, she advanced to the state office, OKDHS Community Living, Aging, and Protective Services, where she has monitored area agencies on aging, served as the Senior Housing and Legislative Liaison, developed and interpreted policies and procedures, developed the State Plan on Aging, and performed other duties as assigned. Currently, Nadine oversees 7 federal and state funded grants that provide supports and resources to individuals with special needs and their family caregivers. The grant supports home and community-based resources so individuals can live at home in a less costly and preferred environment rather than a long-term care facility. Nadine believes it is a true privilege to support and advocate on behalf of individuals with special needs across the lifespan and their family caregivers. Nadine is now going to share important information that's available on the OK Cares website that was developed specifically for family caregivers and the professionals that support them. With that, Nadine, we'll turn things over to you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hi, Aida. Thank you so much for that introduction. So good to be with you all. And I am with Oklahoma Human Services, but also the Oklahoma Caregiver Coalition is dear and near to my heart. One of the things that we were able to begin with a grant from our federal partners. So proud of this. One of the things that we realized early on in the coalition is that we needed a place to put all the valuable information and all the resources and supports that are out there for family caregivers in Oklahoma. And to do that, with technology being what it is, we realized we could develop a website. I'm going to share with you the website and just kind of walk you through what's on the website, and hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of it. Like I said earlier, the Oklahoma Caregiver Coalition was the driving force behind that. And we encourage anyone that is supporting family caregivers and or you are a family caregiver yourself to consider being a coalition partner. We have probably close to 200 partners now on our coalition, but we always need more. And our mission is to improve the supports and experiences over the lifespan of family caregivers through education, advocacy, and resources. So again, as I explain it to the common individual on the street, we're interested in, if you have a child with special needs, if you have a spouse with a brain injury, you have a mother with Alzheimer's, we are interested in everything we can do to help you as a family caregiver. And we would invite you to be on the coalition. I'll talk about that a little bit more. I also want to bring up something that's for this afternoon, but I want to show you this really quick. We do have some breakout sessions, and to get to those breakout sessions, this is one place you can come. It's to the okcares.org website, and go to the conference program. And in the conference program, there's the link to the breakout sessions. So when we get to the end of this and you need the breakout sessions, just remember this is a place you can go. Okay, so one of the things that, again, I'm going to just dive in and give you more information, but you can always come back to this at any time at www.okcares.org. This is a fairly new information line. It used to be known as a senior info line, and we've upgraded it to the aging and disabilities resource line. So if you have issues or questions as a caregiver and or a provider, reach out to individuals on this 1-800 number. You will be giving, there will be prompts, and you will, depending on what prompts you choose, you will probably either be led to an area agency on aging in your area and or a Sooner Success coordinator in your area. And they will walk you through helping you find resources and supports. There is a default that will, if none of the prompts work for you, pick the default, and that will lead you to Human Services. Our community aging and living and supportive services will help you through that. So again, there's always the option to push 0. This is a place if you're just looking for a certain resource, and I'm going to run this just really quickly to show you. Say if you have a loved one that you're trying to find resources for, say they're 19 to 59, but you can see there's different age groups here, 0 to 18, 19 to 59, or 60 and over. I'm just going to push the middle one. Let's say you want respite. Everyone needs respite. Everyone needs a break, right? And let's just pick a county. Here's all the counties. You can go through, pick any of your counties. Let's just do Grady County. And you submit that. You will receive a list of respite resources that are available. So we have ALS has some, Epilepsy Foundation, J.D. McCarty Center, we have Sooner Success. So you will have options. And again, there's several resources here. You can see when I hit respite, there's legal support, nutrition, clothing, exercise, grandparents raising grandchildren, employment. So take advantage of that. And if you are, I'll talk more about this, but if you're a provider out there, we would love to include you in this resource option. And I will show you here in a little bit where you can do that. These are some areas that we try to help individuals with. And this is our executive team on the Caregiver Coalition. And for some reason, I noticed our Facebook's down here, and I'm not quite sure why, but we do have a live Facebook running right there. Across the top of the website is the COVID-19 toolkit. This is pretty informative. You have different options here. We always do have, if something new has come up, we try to post it here regarding COVID. The funeral expenses for loved ones, we've put that out there, and we try to make it very visible for you. You can go to any of these. Say that you have some COVID issues and you're a grandparent raising grandchildren. It will scroll you down, and there's some facts there for you. There's mental health. Again, they're all right here. and they're at the top of the page where you can go directly to them. So this is a great resource as far as COVID-19 issues. News and events. This is a place where we post our next coalition meeting. We invite everybody and anybody to come to that. If you would like to be involved in and come to the meeting and just listen, there's a ton of resources and you really have a great opportunity to connect with a lot of partners. And if you're interested, email at info@okcares.org and we will send you an invite. And the next meeting is January 20th. Can you believe it? January 20th is going to be here soon. And it is virtual. Right now we're doing all our meetings virtual. And then we also put other things out here like our conference for today. On learning more is the Oklahoma Caregiver Coalition, which I already spoke about. And here's some additional information. When you do sign up for the coalition, we do ask everyone to let us know which one of these subcommittees you'd be willing to serve on. You can see there's various subcommittees, advancement, which is fundraising, grant writing, marketing, respite, of course. That's a big area that we need to give a lot of attention to since that's the #1 need of caregivers. Transportation subcommittee, home safety modifications. So there's something for everyone, and we like to have that just in place. So if an issue comes up, say we have a advocacy issue, we already have then a subcommittee in place that we can run. We can contact you, we can group together, we can brainstorm together, and we can hopefully come to some solutions quickly. So again, we invite you to be on the coalition. Here's where I want to talk to you about that search engine that I showed you at the beginning. To get on that search engine, we ask you to fill out this partnership form. And when you fill that out, it will ask you several questions, and then it will place you on that search engine correctly. So please take time to do that. The more resources we have out there on that search engine, the better we can support our family caregivers. You can always contact us. We have, here's our email address and our phone number. If you have any questions or not finding what you want, please reach out to us. Here's what we really like to talk about too is support groups. We know support groups and respite. Those are two vital resources that every family caregiver needs. If you go to the support groups, you can see the various support groups that we're aware of. If you know of more support groups, please reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to add those resources. And say you let's go grief support for death, suicide. It'll scroll you down to the support groups that we're aware of. If your support group is listed on here somewhere and the information is not correct, things have changed. We know with COVID, things change sometimes daily. Please let us know so we can update the information. I'm just kind of scrolling through to show you all the various support groups that we have available for you to read about and to connect with. Again, if you have one and it's not on here, please let us know. We're really proud of the respite locator. There are a lot of respite programs in Oklahoma. A lot of people don't realize they're out there for them. These are the ones that we're aware of right now in Oklahoma. I am going to click on the Lifespan Respite Grant Voucher Program just to show you how this works. So when you click on that, it will open up and tell you the eligibility for the caregiver, the eligibility for the care receiver, and contact information and website information. So each one of these have that information. Title, now let's do veterans. Here's the veterans information. So again, take time to look at that. And if you have questions, you have all the information right there at your fingertips. I do want to mention right now, we do have COVID-19 respite vouchers available to family caregivers that test positive for COVID-19. And that is a program through that we've partnered with Center Success through a grant. And take advantage of that. If you know of any family caregiver, let them know about this, and we'll try to get them some respite vouchers. All right, I think that is all I have. Does anybody have any quick questions before I leave this?
Thank you, Nadine. Let me just monitor Q&A. Okay, it says, are all respite vouchers dependent upon income?
No, they are not. Some are, and you can read through these. Some are dependent on income. I know the Lifespan Respite Voucher Program, for example, and the Older Americans Act, which are supported by the area agencies on aging. There are no income eligibility. What really the main issue, because there's so many, it has to do basically with age and the type of family caregiver support you're providing. For example, there's the foster care or post adoptions. So lots of times it's based on age of the loved one and or the family caregiver and or the type of caregiving service you're providing.
Great, thank you so much. We looking at Q&A again. It's a comment that just thank you for so much resources. It's very helpful. And they've been caring for an 83-year-old husband for years, and it is overwhelming. So thank you for the services and encouraging words. And again, attendees, if you can please use Q&A for questions for our presenters. It helps our committee being able to facilitate what is maybe a housekeeping or internal question using chat and using the Q&A feature for questions for our presenters.
Aida, I noticed someone asked if they could contact me personally, of course. Nadine.walter@okdhs.org. I'll put it in the chat and my phone number. You're always welcome to contact me.
Great. Okay. So again, thank you, Nadine, and appreciate attendees using Q&A for those questions specific to our presenters. All right. Well, as we move forward here, it looks like it's time for another drawing. Jam and Jeff, you ready for that?
All right, here we go. One more time from the Synergy Home Care Studios. Our next winner is Crystal Wood. Crystal, congratulations. You are our next winner.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you so much. And for acknowledging you're still present with us. Again, attendees, you do have to be present to win. All right, as we move forward in this part of the conference, many of you that may have attended previous family caregiver conferences know and have actually seen some of our past panelists. It really is an impactful part of our conference, and so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to hear from our family caregivers and just being mindful that we do have limited time. You know, hearing their story really is just so important. And the planning committee has intentionally invited family caregivers across the lifespan to share their story. So we have family caregivers in the panel that are either a family caregiver, a child with special needs, a caregiver of an adult with disabilities, a caregiver of an older individual over 60, as well as a caregiver of a grandparent raising a grandchild. So with that, I just want to thank you, family caregivers, for being here. We appreciate your willingness to share your story. Our first panelist is Angela Hornsby. And so Angela, we're going to turn things over to you at this time to share what has helped you embrace hope. So Angela.
Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here. Aida, thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Angela Hornsby. And I am the mom of 10-year-old Malachi. You see his picture there. Our journey began actually prenatally. Malachi was prenatally diagnosed with a heart defect and a kidney disorder that were very indicative of Down syndrome. They gave me the option of doing the amnio, which I chose, which confirmed that he did have Down syndrome and would need open heart surgery at 4 months. Actually, the plan at that time, was at a year old. Malachi, of course, came early. After about a 3-week stay in the hospital, we had induced labor because his heart rate, that heart defect really began to catch up to us. Malachi spent about 3 weeks in the NICU, which was, actually probably where I began to be hopeful. Like I believed my baby would get off of that low flow air. I was hopeful for that. But after about 3 weeks in the NICU, we brought him home. We had to eventually end up with a NG tube and a heart monitor, which was, pretty difficult. But as Ashley said earlier, we kind of got into our new normal, right? And then the marathon continued. At 2.5, Malachi was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, which we found that children with Down syndrome were more likely to have some form of cancer, but they too were also more likely to have a chance to recover well and not have a recurrence. So we have been lucky. At the age of 10, Malachi is considered a long-term survivor of cancer. I don't know, my ACEs score, I'll just be honest, and Aida, I hope you knew who you were getting. My ACEs score is like up there, right? So hope was really not a big deal for me. It's not something I thought about. It's not something I felt I had, to be completely honest. But Malachi, and he's my third child. I love them, and I gave them the best life. But to really focus on hope, you have to when you are a caregiver of a child like mine. Malachi didn't walk until he was 3. He took his first steps in the oncology unit, but now he reads, he writes, he's doing math, albeit with a calculator. He's a leader in his classroom. He's an amazing young man. So to see him from that 3-year-old, with leukemia to this amazing 10-year-old who is learning independence, he knows how to make oatmeal now. I can't help but be hopeful of what 11's gonna look like. So I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to be Malachi's mom. And he's restored my hope, actually, in life, in humanity, in God. Like Malachi is his name means messenger of God. And I believe as of today, and I didn't before, but I believe as of today that his message is definitely a message of hope. As a single mom, it's been difficult for me to maintain hope, which part of that is recharging, right? So this weekend was my first Wellspring weekend, and that is the best recharge I've probably had in 10 years, because what it looks like to have respite and kids go spend the night with aunties and uncles and cousins, it looks different in our lives. And I'm sure it does in many of yours as well. And what's funny is last night I was sharing with my mom, what was I gonna say about recharging? And I said, oh, bedtimes. And she said, who taught you that? And I acknowledged she did with my firstborn. Putting him to bed at 8 o'clock guarantees that I have about 2 hours of mommy time, just me time, which has been very important, not just with my child with special needs, but with all of my children. I think recharging and resetting, and that's a 2 hours separate from cleaning the kitchen, separate from picking up the toys. That 2 hours should really be about you. So I have learned over the 31 years of being a parent that, bedtimes, me time, even if I go sit in the daggum car and turn up the music really loud and listen to, some music that I love, I'm sure to take, that time for myself. And I'm grateful for other parents, other caregivers, I can call, I can share, and often helping other families is a boost for me. It really does help me look at my life and to be grateful for what we have. Again, I really appreciate being able to share with you guys. Malachi's dropping things. I'm sorry. I'm really grateful to be able to share with you guys and would be more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Angela. And yes, I did know. I knew we were going to get a great panelist open to sharing her story, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you. I think what we'll go ahead and do is move to our next panelist, and time permitting, we'll definitely get to any questions that are asked. Again, attendees utilizing the Q&A feature for our presenters. Thank you. All right, it is a privilege to introduce our next panelist. We have Lupe Galvan. And Lupe, we'll just turn things right over to you. And I'm so glad the both of you are here.
Yes, can you see us?
Yes, we
Did
can.
I do a good-
Thank you.
It's my first time doing Zoom, so I can't see myself, but okay. I am Lupe, and you are? And how old are you?
22.
And what are you actually doing right now?
I right now being nominated for Down syndrome, and we
Are
are
you-
here to.
Are you in
I'm in college, and we
Uh-huh.
know Career Advantage Action Center. I'm doing landscaping like trimming, mowers, fun, and cool.
Yes, and he's been at this Voltech College for about 4 years, so he'll graduate next May. So my journey at Georgie's has been very exciting. It's been up and down, and learning to live with someone as talented and wonderful as Georgie, who has Down syndrome, has been amazing. How do we embrace hope? For us, or for me, embracing hope is not letting fear conquer us, because when we're fearful, we kind of get lost, and we kind of don't really understand, how we're going to live day by day with someone who has Down syndrome. Our first one, we have no idea. So our fear in trying to figure it out and trying to understand it, we just say, hey, we're not going to be negative in this life. We're going to try to be as positive and optimistic as possible. So what do? We open our mind to be positive. And one thing that we have learned, or I have learned through Georgie, is that we have to see the world through his eyes, because we can't make our children do things that they are not ready to do. But I can guarantee you they will do it. Georgie's been very successful. He's very independent. He's gone to his school, high school. He's graduated with great grades, and now he's in college. So everything is a possibility. There's no such thing as no, we cannot do it. Sometimes we as parents say, well, I don't think they can do that. Well, how do we know? So what we have been doing in Georgie's life is that we say, you want to try it? You try soccer, you didn't like it. We let Georgie find out on his own what he is capable and not capable of doing. So he can understand there's some things that we might not be able to do, but that's in everyone's life, every child, every parent. We just have to let them figure it out, and we have. To us, acceptance, love, faith, that embraces hope. Never giving up on our kids, always trying to not limit them at all. We have also learned that in order to be successful in life, we have to engage or energize in trust. We have to trust that by embracing their abilities, not their disabilities, we have to find and see their abilities. Never focus on disability, because it is what it is, but we have to focus on their ability. And I feel that as parents, we have to always, always understand that they deserve to be here just like anybody else. It's going to take a little bit of time to get where we want to go. And we do set goals, lots of goals, don't we? And we just have to be positive. And we always hope that there will always be a better tomorrow, but we have to make that happen for them. How do I recharge? I don't think I call it recharge, I call it refocus. There's been things in Georgie's life where we're like, oh my God, we have to refocus, we have to recharge. And he's included because they do have to settle down. And then we look at things in a different way. But for me, basically is I love to walk. I like to do Zumba. And this might sound a little bit different, but the way I recharge is I speak to other moms. That makes me feel more like, okay, we're all going through the same thing. You're doing it this way, you're doing it that way. So to me, recharging is having other conversations with other parents with any kind of disability. So we want to thank you, right, for having us on, and continue with your success. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you both for being here and sharing your story. We certainly appreciate you. And we're going to go ahead and go to the next panelist. And again, time permitting, if we have questions from attendees, we will have some questions for you all after our next two panelists go. Thank you again. Okay, next we have Ed. Ed, are you able to get things started here? We'll turn things over to you, Ed, and thank you so much for being here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you great.
Well, I'm getting a message that I cannot start my video because the host has stopped it.
Okay, Ed, let us see if we can adjust that.
That's fine, I can continue. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Please go ahead, Ed, and we will try on our side to get that feature lifted, but see a beautiful picture of you and your mother. So please go ahead and share your story, Ed.
Okay. My mother and my father moved down to live with me in 1980. And my father passed away in 2000. My father passed away in 2001. She did pretty well up until her late 80s, where she started to have trouble falling and such. And in 2014, she fell and broke her hip, and that's when I realized that I couldn't leave her alone anymore, and I went ahead and retired. She, again, did pretty well until the COVID situation came along. When she couldn't go out and go to the things that she used to go to, she really went downhill. And at present, she's in hospice care, living with me still, but confined to a bed. And, you know, it's one of those things I just have to take care of her. As far as the hope thing, I've been blessed all my life, and as I got older, I realized that. So hope isn't really an issue with me. You know, my only hope really is that she's comfortable and that she doesn't have pain. And as she declines, then I'll take care of her as best I can. As far as recharging, I work out every day. I have an acreage, and that keeps me busy. And again, since she's confined to a bed, you know, I don't have to worry about her moving around or falling or whatever, so I can do things around the property and so on. I think that's pretty much it. She's quite a character. I always tell people she's a World War II Marine that raised 8 kids. You don't get much tougher than that.
Yes, thank you so much, Ed. And how appropriate too, as we're on the eve of Veterans Day, your mother's service and your service as a family caregiver. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And we'll go right to the next panelist. And again, if you're willing to hang out a little longer with us, we'll also be checking for the Q&A to see if there's questions from attendees. Thank you, Ed.
Okay.
Okay, great. Next, we have Martha Rains, who's also going to be sharing her family caregiver perspective as a grandparent raising a grandchild. So Martha, with that, we will turn things over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. For some reason I turned my video on, but it's not on. Thank you for letting me be here today. It's really a pleasure to get to talk with everybody and to get to listen to everybody's stories of hope. You know, we've got a really long and complicated backstory to how we became grandparents raising grandchildren, but I'm only going to give you like the Reader's Digest version today of doing that. My husband and I both worked full time. I was the director of an adult daycare center back in 2005. And we had one of our children, our daughter, had been in trouble with the law numerous times, off and on. And it had already spent 6 months in prison at the time that we started doing this. So one day I went to court with her thinking, oh, this is just our normal kind of go in, check in with the judge and reset a court date. And the judge did something very unusual that day by asking her about her sobriety and asked if she was willing to take a drug test. And she said yes. So the judge ordered it, sent her off, and rescheduled for the afternoon, which was very strange. Well, she failed the drug test. We came back and the judge immediately sentenced her to prison and said, you need to take the children. It was very overwhelming at the time. Had no clue that that was going to happen. And I really didn't get any guidance other than, oh, the court clerk has a list of people that can help you with guardianship. So I didn't have any resources at that time. I didn't have any assistance that I knew of, just a list from the court clerk. The challenges that we faced immediately were pretty abundant. We both worked full time. We tried to, we lived in empty nesters trying to deal with all the logistics of 3 little girls. And they were the ages of 18 months to 5 at that time. But fortunately, because I worked in the aging field, I had worked a lot with our area agency on aging and had known that we had a resource there that knew about grandparents raising grandchildren. Her name is Sandy. And I called on Sandy for some help and asking, what is it that we can get? How can we find out the resources that are available? So she started giving us some information so that we could get things in place for the girls. One of the things I guess I didn't expect was the emotional challenges that we had. Realizing that there was a lot we didn't know about what happened before we got the girls, because my daughter kind of kept them away most of the time. We only got to see them occasionally. We didn't realize the emotional trauma that the girls had had. And with Dr. Ferris talking about ACEs this morning, I was sitting there going through all those, thinking how many of those that the girls had faced. Our oldest one had problems with self-esteem. She had problems with anger, and we had to find a way to channel that through. We ended up using karate as a great way to channel that, and helped her a lot with her self-control and self-confidence as they went on. We tried to encourage all the girls to do the things that they needed to do to help themselves, and that included seeking counseling. We've had all of them in counseling at some point in time during their life. In about 6 months after we took the original 3, we picked up the 4th girl from the hospital in Oklahoma City. She was born in prison, and took her home to be with us as well. But we were able to get through those challenges with the help of a lot of friends and a lot of people that supported us in doing all the things that we had to do there. When we're talking about how do we embrace hope, I think I look at embracing hope by looking at the lives of those 4 girls and realizing that my hope for them is that they can have a better life, that they can have a stable life, that they can do the things that they want to do, reach the dreams that they want to reach. We had to develop a team. We had to working with counselors and with the teachers and with different recreational people and medical people to try to find what each child needed. And so we were able to, get a program going with each one that worked for them. And now we have kids that are doing quite well. We still have a lot of challenges. The oldest two are in college at this point, doing very well. I've still got two high schoolers at home after these years. But I think, there are a lot of challenges, but I think my hope comes in seeing them, seeing their future, seeing how they will embrace hope as they go forward. Asking about how we recharge. We were lucky because, like I said, I had some access to knowing some of the programs and things around, and we were able to utilize the respite vouchers. We actually got respite vouchers as a grandparent, but also for my mom, because during this time also my mother came to live with us with, she had vascular dementia. So we became a very sandwiched family with two areas of caregiving on both sides. But we were able to find a caregiver who actually was able to take care of all of them at the same time and allow us a little time away. So I would encourage people to always make sure you can have some time away. Make sure you have time with your spouse. That's always something that suffers in caregiving, and finding time to spend a little time, even if it's just to have a dinner away or doing something for each other. I also find that another way of recharging is kind of like several of the other panelists have mentioned, is talking to other people. It's never easy to tell your story, especially when you've got a child that's been in prison or had some drug issues or any of those kinds of things. It's difficult to talk about that. But the first time that I allowed myself to open up and tell people about what happened, I found people who said, I didn't know anybody else had ever gone through this. So you can share hope by encouraging other people. And to me, that really brings me joy and hope to know that I can help other people by just doing that. Thank you so much for letting me be here today. And I want to thank the people in Oklahoma for the services that have been provided to help our family.
Thank you so much, Martha. And again, I know it's not easy sharing your story. You and the other family caregiver panelists, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your journeys. Okay, so looking at Q&A, it does look like we have a question, and hopefully our family caregiver panelists can also look at chat, some comments that have been made, thanking you all as well. But for questions for you, we're using Q&A, and so it says, how did you balance having time away when all you want to do is sit on your couch and watch TV? So our family caregiver panelists, as you all are still listening in, feel free to go ahead and turn your cameras on at this time, family panelists, and let us know who would like to answer that question. So again, to repeat it, how did you balance having time away when all you want to do is sit on your couch and watch TV?
If you're home alone, that is time away from me. Like really, really, really. The other night, my mom lives with us too, and she had a date, and Malachi went away because I had Wellspring for the weekend. It was like, oh, I've got the house to myself. And if binge watching is what the spirit moved me to do, binge watching is what I would have done and been grateful for, because just not having someone say, mommy, mommy, can I? Mommy, will you? Mommy, mommy. It is a big blessing for me right now, because I'm all he has to talk to. So he talks to me constantly. I homeschool, so if I could lock my door and turn the TV up real loud, I'd be grateful. That's respite.
Great, thank you, Angela. How about you, Martha?
I kind of with Angela, sometimes if the kids were gone, maybe they went to visit somebody else or at a friend's, that was a great time to spend just a little quiet time. It's hard to find time for yourself, and it's a struggle every day, but any few minutes that you can do it, whether it's just sitting watching something. I know one of my favorite things to do to try to break away is watching something funny or an old movie or something like that. So that can be very much of a respite in itself.
Great, thank you so much. And really, respite is getting that break. And so again, if sitting on the couch watching or binge watching, even as Angela was saying, you know, that's a break for you. I know everyone has their own forms of respite. We certainly try to encourage and have had tips that will be going through our lunch break hour to hopefully help you recharge in other ways. So thank you so much. All right, I don't see any additional questions in Q&A at this time. Well, I apologize. I guess there is one more. It says, Ed, if you're able to answer this question, it just says, do your other siblings help give you respite?
I'm the only one in Oklahoma. So, you know, it's just me basically. They come down occasionally to give me a break. You know, they'll be down this weekend for her birthday. By the way, she'll be 98.
That's wonderful. 98. That is awesome. Okay. Well, again, panelists, we know it's no easy task to share your story with us, and just can't thank each of you enough. Appreciate you, and especially appreciate you for your family caregiving. Really, your selflessness and committing to your loved ones. We just thank you so much for that. All right. What an awesome conference we're having. And again, perhaps if this isn't your first family caregiver conference, the panelists are always just so awesome to hear from them and just impactful. And I know, again, it's no easy task to share, but just thankful to them for their bravery and really insight. And perhaps you're in a similar family caregiving role, and hopefully you all are embracing that hope as they've shared what has helped them. Okay. So as we start to conclude this morning's session, we're certainly truly grateful for our presenters this morning. We look forward to resuming after a 1-hour lunch break. During the lunch break, please stay connected by viewing the conference slides and video presentation. And that too is helpful for you all to get that break. As we're talking about, it is just so important. We will resume back at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. I know we did have some out-of-state attendees register, so we'll be resuming in 1 hour. I also want to take this time to again recognize our committee and our sponsors that made this conference possible. We could not do this without these dedicated partners. A special thank you to Jam and Jeff Entertainment, Language Associates for providing our interpretation in Spanish, Sign Language Resource Services for providing sign language, and just a special thank you to our attendees, our family caregivers, for all that you do. Just again, reminders that when we resume, we'll have the same housekeeping items. When you do have questions for our presenters, please use Q&A. We are doing our best to monitor chat. This is being recorded, so if you know other family caregivers that were unable to attend, please share that information with them. We do want to reach as many family caregivers as we can, and understand that you know, we all have so much to do, and perhaps they have a conflict at this time. We want that recording to be available as we conclude today's conference. All right, so again, we recognize that life is hectic, especially with the pandemic. It's another level of stress, as Ed even shared in his story. It's another level of stress, and but again, taking that time, and however you define that time for the self-care, our team certainly can connect you to respite. We've seen some questions about respite. We're here to help and can assist you accessing respite and other resources to help you. So again, It's a never-ending list of priorities and demands. And if we don't take that time for self-care as family caregivers, we can start to experience our own adverse health outcomes. And so please, just again, let's make better choices in terms of balancing. I know it's no easy task. It's day by day, right? But do prioritize your health, your time. And I hope that you feel re-energized hearing from others. And also, I hope you feel that this conference, again, is all about you and to thank you for all that you do as family caregivers. So I think we have one more gift card for this session. Jam and Jeff, if you want to join us, we'll get another winner going.
Oh yeah, here we come from the studios in Branson, Missouri, from Synergy Home Care. This is DJ Jeff, and I've got your next winner. We want to congratulate Cindy Matthews. You're our final winner of this morning's presentation.
Great, thank you so much, and congratulations to our winner. So on behalf of the Oklahoma Caregiver Coalition, again, we want to thank you for attending the 4th Annual Family Caregiver Conference, Embracing Hope. This concludes our Family Caregiver Conference morning session. Please rejoin us in an hour after a break. And again, do look for the follow-up conference information that will include an evaluation. We do want your feedback. We're continually working as a committee to make improvements and want to hear from you. So with that, we're going to take a pause, and actually it looks like you're going to get over an hour break. We will resume back at 1 o'clock. So thank you everyone, and we will see you back at 1 o'clock.